My understanding of that 120 years in Genesis 6 is that that's to restrict the lifespan of humans and the giants. And God intercedes. And you look where it's positioned in the Genesis 6 account, and it's right in there with the creation of the giants. And that's no coincidence. It's not 120 years to the flood, which some people will say, because the math doesn't add up, right? It's only 100 years or 98 years, depending on how you want to calculate that. So it's not that. But what happens when the fallen angels procreate with human females, they are passing on what Enoch will call a counterfeit spirit. So somehow their spirit is being passed on, and they're creating gods or demigods in the physical realm. Let's say gods at this point. They're created immortal. And God steps in and says, no, I'm not going to have a mortal spirit in the physical body, in the physical world, and I'm going to move to stop that. Now that takes a few generations to take place. What happens with these giants who have the immortal spirit is that their spirit is immortal, but their body is not. So at some point in time, they're going to die, or their body is going to wear out. But their spirit, because it's immortal, is not permitted to go to sleep. It's not permitted to go to heaven. And it's going to roam the earth. These are the demons. And this is why when we see Jesus dealing with Legion in the New Testament, and they're afraid that they're going to send them either to judgment before their time or to the abyss with their, the worst of their co-conspirators, they're still roaming the earth today as bodily spirits. And this is where you get hero worship from in the ancient Greek tradition, where the ruler would die and the spirit would come back and haunt that village, and the people would do rituals and sacrifices to appease this horribly upset demon, because it no longer has a body. And the same thing in Taoism, they call them vagabond ghost spirits. Blood and blood rituals are all part of the religion that grew up around the giants and the Nephilim. And after they lost their immortality, when God stepped in, they start to actually drink blood. It was a common violation for the Nephilim, and it's resurges after the flood with Nimrod, according to Freemasonry legends. And again, they're trying to do is with drinking of the blood is extend their life, because they believe the life is in the blood and they'll be extended, and also to give them better cognitive abilities. They believe it does both. And these blood rituals and blood drinking rituals didn't die out in the ancient past. They're still part of what they do at the adept level in the secret societies and the high level adepts of the polytheist religions today.
What about stem cells? Where does that play into that? Is that kind of crossing the line a little bit too when it comes into this stuff?
Yeah, because the stem cells allows you to more easily manipulate DNA and genomes and things like that, right? So this is crossing over the threshold with what they're doing with it into violating the laws of creation, which is what essentially brought on the first apocalypse. And so we're starting to repeat what was going on in the end time, and it's all about how do we create immortality in this world? Right. Not about,
because this is their
not
kingdom.
about
this is their
not
kingdom.
about exactly, not about immortality in heaven, but in the physical realm, right? And so whether or not it's being able to do it through transhumanism or bionic parts or clones or cloning body parts to replace
AI.
AI, it's all about that, creating that demigod in the physical realm that was before the flood. And some people actually think that they're trying to actually create vessels ultimately for the demon spirits, because they need a body, they need a dwelling place for their spirit. That's been their goal from day one since they've died, is how do we manipulate humankind in conjunction with the fallen angels, but the demons are a big part of the gods of polytheism as we go through history. They seem to be very much related or part of the celestial masters or the white brotherhood or aliens or guardian spirits, whoever they say they want to channel to, because the knowledge is coming from them to continue to make the advancements. And even more in the last 100 years, I think more of this channeling is going on and getting this information because we're seeing technology advance so quickly. It's in their interest to pass on the knowledge that they had before the flood to humans to develop, to hopefully in with their end game to have a body to once again live in. And whether or not it's the book of Enoch or other accounts of religions and mythologies around the world, they tell that same type of story over and over and over and over and over. For your audience, understand that when they're seeing all of these superhero movies today, this is a reflection of the Nephilim of the ancient times. And hero was understood differently in the ancient times than it is today. It was understood as the offspring of gods and a human female to create a demigod.
Heroes of renown.
Heroes of renown, absolutely, or the mighty ones of old. These are reflections of it, and you can see it. The best analogy I can give you for them doing this is probably the most famous superhero, which is Superman. Right, so he is obviously a superhuman being with superpowers, and he has this almost pyramid-like sort of emblem that you have this S that looks like a snake on it, and he comes from the house of El, and El is a god, and he is the son of El, and he is basically, a Nephilim in a cartoon sort of character, right? And all of those characters are developed from the superheroes of the ancient epoch. This is just going on continually in all kinds of entertainment, that they continually tell us about their history, their religion, and their genealogies encoded into all of this entertainment. I think they are working in all aspects, whether it's education, media, entertainment, whether or not it's literature, movies, television. They're preparing us to accept what they're going to tell us and try and deceive us with in a very short period of time, so that they'll go back and say, hey, we told you in advance. Like, this should not be a surprise. It all makes sense. They're preparing us to accept the great delusion. And I think it's a brainwashing propaganda thing that is going on that will only intensify as we get closer to the end time. So, and it doesn't matter whether or not it's in science fiction, we get the religion, we get the alien deception that's going to be coming at us. If it's in fairy tales, that's preparation for the kids, and it's encoded with the allegories of the matriarchal bloodline and the classifications of different fairies. So it can be in other sort of genre, like the vampires. Again, the vampire whole thing is just another allegory talking about the genealogy and the imagery of the Nephilim, and the genealogies coming down, everything from the drinking of blood to the cobra fangs on a person called Dracula, which is son of a dragon in the imagery, and they drink blood for immortality and cognitive abilities. He's based on Vlad the Impaler, and Nephilim, who had pale skin, hazel eyes, red hair as one of the different colors. I mean, it just sort of goes on and on and on. I won't bore the whole audience with all of the allegories encoded into the Dracula tales, but understand, that is the side that is against Christianity. And that's the ultimate thing that they're telling you. When people start digging into this aspect of it, you end up going back and forth on how does that sort of fit. And there's, to me, it could be either or. I'm open to both. So when I look at what science is telling us. I don't trust science. Because I know, that modern science was created by the Royal Society, which was created by Freemasons and Rosicrucians, and their whole ideology is the same as it was in the antediluvian epoch, which is to lead people away from God, not give God credit for anything, and to honor their own pantheon of gods. So you can't trust anything that they say. And I'm not even sure there is one complete set of one complete skeleton of dinosaur in the whole world. I think they're taking pieces and they kind of ad lib as to what they think they may look like. So we don't know for sure whether or not they were as big or as many as what they're saying. Possible. I leave myself open to that. But when they lived, it could have been, just before the flood, or it could have been back into antiquity, because again, you can look at Genesis 1:1 and 1:2 and translate that out of Hebrew, that the earth became void and that the earth was renewed, just as Psalms 104:30 says, when God sends the Spirit, the earth is renewed. So there's a possibility that dinosaurs lived then, and the rebellion is what caused the destruction of the world. And then you have the renewal of the earth. I think some people will call that the gap theory. I have a complete blow by blow on that if somebody wants it. It's not constitutive to my faith, but I leave that open as a possibility. And certainly the angelic rebellion for me fits a little bit better there. But again, it's not constitutive. And yet I also know that with everything that's going on with science and how they're trying to deceive us for their own agenda, is it could just be pre-flood animals, and they may not be quite as big or quite as numerous as what people would lead us to believe are as old.